Hello and welcome to MindStretch with Jason and Jeff.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Jeff, and we're talking about what we know nothing about. Why is that, Jason?
Because Socrates was once asked, what makes you so wise? And he said, because I know that I know nothing. And we have a few ideas, but we really know nothing.
And the other thing he said was question everything. So regardless of what we say on the show, do your own research, think for yourself.
We're just throwing out some ideas.
Yep, so let's get into it. Disclaimer. All right, here's the deal, folks. We're proud to introduce our very first podcast along with our very first disclaimer. Somehow during the first section of this podcast, we ran Jason's vocals through a reverb chamber and gives it a real cool far away sound.
Yeah.
So I'll be real close, Jason will be real far away. And then somewhere halfway through, it'll be back to normal. So
That's right.
anything else they should pay attention to?
Yeah, and you will also notice that every once in a while when we're having a discussion, I will use the wrong word to describe something, such as I say meteor when I really mean asteroid.
Wah, wah.
Or I say thesis when I mean hypothesis.
Wah, wah,
But
wah.
in the end, I think you're going to get the gist of what I'm saying and you know, get something out of it. So
Give us a break, people. We're human. All right, first episode of MindStretch.
that's right.
It's pretty exciting.
It is.
And we've got some things in store that we've been piecing together over the last couple months. It's been kind of a whirlwind. Jason came to town. We were going to make some music and ended up joining forces and creating a business
That's
an
right.
entire land of thought and creativity.
Yep.
Would you like to expand upon that?
We had been working with music in different ways. I came to him and came across him years ago, and he helped me pretty much form my music career by turning ideas that I had into a professionally recorded finished product. And then since then, we've just been in touch, and I had some new songs to come record, and now everything else.
And we very quickly realized that the music platform was not quite big enough to contain all of our
Thoughts.
rabbit hole
Yeah, exactly.
land. So that's what this is, and we're going to talk about a concept based off of one of Jason's songs, which is Wonder. Dive into that a little bit. We're going to look at some current events and article on Flipboard, which we're going to do each episode. We're going to take a look at our personally curated by Jason and I, but a lot of it's already begun. What is the link? Well, that's on Flipboard. That's a magazine or a
It's a article curation platform where it's kind of a little bit of a community, but it's just a good way to collect different things. And if you're interested in certain topics, you're able to go on there and just select those. So I've started using that the last couple of years, where I pick things like artificial intelligence and space and technology and music and things like that, where rather than just blanket current events like politics and all the crap, you can just focus on information that is going to, teach you something.
or 27 life hacks that will change your life forever.
Exactly. Yeah. But as I find them, as I read them, the ones that I feel like are really interesting and really impactful on the stuff that we like to talk about, I'm going to curate them on our MindStretch Flipboard account.
So you go on Flipboard and you search MindStretch.
Yeah.
It's the only thing there. You'll see our cartooned faces.
That's right.
So we're going to do that. Then we're going to do a little departure into a world we like to call MindStretchLand. And you'll hear more about that later. But
Yeah.
that's something that you'll be able to enjoy listening to and watch. So engaging lots of senses.
Yeah.
So what do we have going on these days?
Well, I mean, we both have the songs out right now, where mine actually was released today, Wonder.
That's right. Today's the day.
Yep. And you've got Sunshine out there.
Yep.
That is tearing up the underground streaming.
Tearing through the airwaves.
It just puts a smile on your face. It just makes you want to get up and move around.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, it's funny that guy that did that first review, the one quote that I used was something about radio stations and playlists.
Yeah.
It says playlist too, right?
Seems like it.
Well,
yeah.
that happened before the song ended up on the Hollister playlist, which is
Right.
Created a lot more interest in the song than anything else I've put out, which is really awesome. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that just that guy was like prophetic and just called it out.
That's
and
right.
it
Yeah,
happened,
yeah.
you know, so.
He saw it and grabbed it
Yeah.
out of there. Yeah. So
And then your song came out today, which is the first thing we worked on, which is the first song that stemmed this entire process of what we've been working on the past couple months and building, and then the foundation for, I guess, the school of thought that this will explore, which is like, where are we going and how can we all get on the same page, live more in harmony or in frequency with each other, and move on towards a bigger and better, not necessarily bigger, but better world. You know? Definitely
as best
bigger.
we can.
We're headed for the
that's what say.
we're headed for the stars. Really, I mean, like, literally.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then we play every week at Grandpa Johnson's right now on Friday nights.
That's right. The Things have got a nice little residency there. It's our friend Lucas, and then my cousin Jared, who plays with us in a band called Manchu, which we recently finally settled on a name. And then Jason, Chords of Truth, rather, opens up the evening with a nice little mellow vibe, acoustic, and I play some keys on it. So we're there every Friday night from 9 p.m. till the place shuts down. So come hang out with us. Come, wag your finger in our face and tell us how wrong we were on our podcast. And, hey, we'll be glad to grab well, Jason doesn't drink, but I'll have a beer with you and we can hash it out.
Yeah.
All right. Jason, cue up the curated Flipboard channel.
All right, so there's going to be one under research and articles that 15 years of brain research using fMRIs has been shown to have bugs in it. And when they retested a lot of the stuff, they found that there was like 70% error rate, and they were expecting about 5. I mean, 70%.
And then it said some of them were like they were firing in areas that may not have even been firing in.
I mean, and one of the big frameworks of it too, which will lead into many conversations that we will have down the road about artificial intelligence and AI. Is the idea that, one of the points that they make in this article, where there's lots of different, commentaries on this study that came out, where you're limited by the software. I mean, these doctors and stuff that are analyzing this information are not literally looking at sparks in your brain. They're looking at a computer's analysis of that. And, AI is just basically, a further progression of computer programs and stuff, where at this point right now, we still don't know exactly what we're doing. And I mean, the other thing that kind of gets pointed out in this capacity is that our new research is based on other research that we make assumptions, where you jump forward in testing certain things out based under certain premise, where that premise may not even be real. I mean, I'll use the example of gravity. I mean, we all think we have some kind of picture. We've all seen some kind of animation on the Space Channel, that shows it rolling around a fabric or something.
Right.
But I mean, there's theories out there that gravity is like interdimensional, and it's really super strong, and we're only getting like 1/1 billionth of the power through our dimension. I mean, there's no proof of any of those things. The entire string theory is based on theory. They don't even have a testable thesis to go after. But
even music is based on a theory.
That's right.
Musical theory.
That's right. I mean, everything's a theory until it becomes fact. But what makes
we're not sure
if
music is in fact real quite yet. It's still just a theory. I mean, basically the idea here is that here's a whole body of work, basis of thought, and our assurance of what we think we actually know and stake our claim on, come to find out. It's a perfect example of how little we do know in a big field.
And we're not even talking about like based on the MRI in like a hospital for some health condition. We're talking about reading brain activity.
Yeah, and knowing
for the first
how
time
the brain,
and assuming we know.
How it
that's what it's doing.
Language or this or that. Or
right.
Yeah.
At the end of that article, which you even laughed when you read it, was the fact that, what was the term? We have a...
What was it? Replication identity? Replication crisis?
Yes, a replication crisis. Yeah. Meaning they do a study, they tell us it's proof, but nobody can repeat it.
Yeah.
But it's considered a fact.
Yeah. You and I both know that when we were in college, we knew everything.
Yes. We all think that we know.
Yeah.
And that based upon our experiences and our perspective, that's the truth. And I mean, we don't know what the truth is. None of us know. We know what the truth is for us, and that's about it. And there's some objective reality out there,
And
but
some
it's
people will
still,
say that they know the truth.
right,
Well,
and then everybody else is wrong.
What they really mean is that it's their truth, the way they perceive it or understand it.
The system is set up in such a way that when somebody runs a study on something, whether it's a drug company or about anything, they can choose whether they want to publish it or not. And that's the first problem. I mean, if you can handpick what evidence there is out there, then it skews the whole thing from the beginning. And that's a major problem. But then on the other side of that is the people who actually control the publishing, which that's the bigger problem, is that they also handpick what's released and what's not. And there was some organization that found that there were, all these different papers where they went in and just investigated a certain topic and found all these papers that completely changed the outcomes of the results if you actually put them into the statistics. And it was on something major. Like I said, it was years ago. I can't remember it now.
Basically, it's a form of censorship.
Absolutely.
I guess one that's maybe not as widely talked about. We're living in the information age. There's too much information almost, where it's like, like before you used to go, look at an encyclopedia, you go to the library, whatever.
That's right.
The information,
the credibility
there.
of the information.
Now it's like you can find, you pick a topic and go on the interweb.
Yeah.
And there will be so close to 50-50 on any topic, two polar opposite opinions.
That's
on
right.
the topic.
With the whole case behind it, good or bad.
Yep.
But they've got their reasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to determine anymore what, and I guess that just goes to show you that, maybe we don't know, but in terms of science, you should be able to, have some reliability there. There's information out there that's like,
fact.
Yeah, that's like, higher tiered information being regarded as higher tiered coming from a reliable source is being said that, all right, well, maybe we got to go back to the drawing board a little bit. It's just another example of stretching of the collective mind.
That's right.
And having to rethink and rework what we know. So in the process of individually doing that, we're doing that collectively. And the more we can do that, the more, like you're saying, we can live happier, more
loving,
peaceful,
abundant,
harmonious.
all
there
those
go,
things.
all the good stuff.
Yeah.
Whoa, what was that?
I think we just slipped into MindStretchLand, an infinite space where we are free to explore all possibilities.
Oh, that's cool. So if there's an idea we want to try out, we can do it here.
Totally. We can create, observe, and do anything. For instance, here's a couple of thinkers. Looks like they're buying some groceries. Let's check it out.
Pew, 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 pew. That's what it was like, man. Totally through the spitter. Out the end, crash and burn, man. What do you say?
Bro, I was flying through that barrel, man, and it was just like magic.
Spitting it out just like a loogie, bruh. Back of the throat, out through the spitter hole, man.
Yo, bro, your total's gonna be 1433, okay?
Would you like bags with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
You guys better watch out for those sharks.
This is interesting.
Yeah, we got a couple of surfers and obviously someone that is a little concerned. Let's stick a fork in this moment to jump off later.
Totally.
Sharks.
What do you mean, sharks? Is this something? You know a shark?
Oh, I don't know anything about sharks. No, I've never been in the ocean. Are you crazy? I've never even put my foot in.
Okay, I thought you knew something we didn't know. Okay.
No, well, no, but, you just can't see anything. There's no telling what you're stepping on. And besides, you never know when a whale might come by and just tip you over.
Well, man, I hope that doesn't happen to us.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, have a good day.
You too, but be careful.
All right, so what just happened here?
Well, basically, you have two distinct mindsets. We got these folks over here, they're adventurous, want to be out in nature and free. There's a risk of sharks, I'm sure they know that, but they're willing to risk it for the experience.
Oh, and this other person who probably enjoys being indoors, but obviously has a fear of sharks, the water, and being tipped over by whales for some reason, she'll never get to fully experience the ocean because of fear.
Exactly.
This is the life, yeah, man. Jimmy! Jimmy! Just say Jimmy on the woo!
J-Bone! Woo! That was awesome, dog. That was awesome.
Getting them toes on the end of that board. Yeah, man. Man, this is life, huh?
It's magic.
I missed you, man.
Hi, Betty.
Oh, hey, got any plans tonight?
Nope, see you later.
Well, that doesn't look like the best day she could have had right there.
Yeah, let's go back to that fork moment and see what else could have happened.
For sure.
Sharks.
What do you mean sharks? Is this something? Do you know a shark?
Oh, I don't know anything about sharks. No, I've never been in the ocean. Are you crazy? I've never even put my foot in.
Okay, I thought you knew something we didn't know. Okay.
No. Well, no, but, you just can't see anything. There's no telling what you're stepping on. And besides, you never know when a whale might come by and just tip you over.
So we have a few choices here. The surfers could just let that comment go and move on with their day like we just saw, or they could plant a seed.
I've never heard of that happening.
Yeah, you know someone that happened to?
No, it's just so scary to think about. I mean, I can't even think about going in there.
Well, I've surfed how many? 10, 15 times? More than you have, and nothing's happened to me.
Yeah, they were totally fine. We were just out there this morning, no issues. Hey, why don't you come out there with us?
Suit up, lady. Join us in the water.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I guess I could. I mean, I do get off in a little bit, but yeah. I mean, okay, yeah, sure. I'll meet you there.
Nice tube, yeah.
I'll see you in that two-piece.
It's the bag, lady. Come on out here.
Hey, come over here.
Nice job.
You're doing great. Keep it up.
Get it, girl.
Yeah, that's it. Keep going.
Yes. Get up, stand up. Stand up on your toes. Get up on your toes.
Hey, we're gonna go grab a bite to eat. You hungry?
You trying to munch?
Yeah, why don't you come with us?
No, I think I'm just gonna, sit here and enjoy the ocean.
You got the itch, huh? Here's some cream. Itch away.
Bye. Wow, such nice guys. Wow, it's a whole new world. Yeah, my life's gonna be different. The whole new world. Is that a seagull? Wow, it's beautiful.
Wow, looks like things turned out pretty good.
Yeah, this is a good example of what can happen if you face your fears.
Where did the whale come from?
Now that's a good question.
Yeah, we'll have to save that for another time.
All right. What do we want to talk about today, Jason?
Well, we were going to talk about thoughts behind wonder.
Yeah, you got this really cool song.
Well, thanks.
It sounds
Appreciate
great.
that.
Production
Like
is
that?
really
Yes,
top
it is.
notch.
You did a good
If
job.
I do
on
say
that.
so.
Yes.
Is that when I were? Yeah, and when we were recording it, we felt like we were on the precipice of a really booming time where we're on the brink of
Yeah.
artificial intelligence and
Changes. Big changes.
geoengineering or whatever,
Yes.
what's that called?
GMO.
GMO.
Yeah.
Yes, and a lot of people are scared, and a lot of people are maybe confused, and even more are very hopeful.
Yeah.
So hopefully that is the type of things we want to maybe bring to light that weren't there, but also maybe address the concerns. Or that first verse is where it starts to get into, I guess, the idea of moving forward and people moving forward and a category of people, which is
Everyone needs help in some way, whether you're the people trying to, some people are trying to keep a roof over their heads and some people are trying to colonize other planets, and we're all working towards different things. And the idea is that if you can help the people around you, then everybody can continue to lift up from that. Like wherever you can do it, you need to try to do that. And the people who need those means need to realize that they can change their world by thinking different. There's always a way to problem solve.
I've heard plenty of people say, their fathers gave them advice, like put on a suit and stand in front of a mirror, or go test drive your all-time favorite car to feel what it feels like to be in, see yourself as an important businessman or whatever, and feel what it feels like to have the things you want. It does something to your mind. And I guess that's what you're talking about. It's
and that's attraction. That's exactly like The Secret. That's, putting yourself into that position and you put the energy out there and the vibrations, and then it creates your world. Whether some people think that you're either seeing that differently, some people think you're actually changing it through like quantum mechanics and the power of our conscious creation. But either way, if you start changing the way you look at the world, it will change your world.
Yes.
There's just no way around that.
All right, so you mentioned The Secret. I think it's probably a good idea to both of us, somewhat brief, delve a little bit into where our thinking comes from, so then we can address things like The Secret and maybe other thinkers
right.
for what they
Yes.
said about your
Absolutely.
mind. So anyway,
Yeah.
so both you and I come from like a Christian background,
Yep.
maybe like a supremely tightly controlled at certain times.
Absolutely,
Depending on the birth order.
That's right.
We both share the top slot in the birth order.
With 2 younger brothers.
2 younger brothers.
Yeah.
And so the reins were the tightest on us.
So yeah, I mean that's where our thoughts and ideas have evolved a little bit since we were young and under those conditions. But during that time, what we found is that a lot of the framework that we were given as children in those philosophies are actually applicable. They just aren't necessarily always the way they were presented to us.
Yeah, and not as exclusive.
That's right.
Yeah, at least we don't think so.
Right. And that's once again just one of those things that, this is where we're coming to our conclusions based on our experiences, and that's all we can do is share those.
Right. So I know I grew up, Jesus, Baptist, hellfire, and brimstone.
Yeah.
And then a little more progressively non-denominational, or more progressive, non-denominational, a little further towards, I don't know, opening the mind to other possibilities of the way that life could be, or the way that God could be, or the way that other people could perceive all those things and could maybe still be right or wrong. I don't know. There's a lot of things there that, dimensions that are difficult to wrap your mind around. But anyways, that's where we come from to some degree. And you mentioned The Secret.
Yes.
So a lot of people in the churchy circle would say that's like new agey.
Right.
That's kind of
It's
out
not
there.
of Jesus. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
If it's not of Jesus, then it's of the devil
Right.
from a lot of the perspective that I was raised with.
Right.
And that's where the energy and the vibrations and all that, like I grew up in more evangelical, where it was, the televangelists dancing the aisles, speaking in tongues and all that,
Right.
where there's no question there was an energy in that room. It's
Yeah.
just whether or not that's the exclusive place and that's the only place it is. I don't believe that now where.
And if
this-
those circumstances are some sort of recipe for creating that
That's right.
atmosphere.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've kind of developed that over time. And that's where I do believe that healings occur. I feel like I've seen certain things. It didn't happen to me personally. That was part of the experiences where there's no question I could feel it, whether I was doing it in my mind, maybe. I mean, I don't know any of that. However, in other areas of my life since then and other things that I've learned and experienced, it feels like that energy is out there. I just can't say I know necessarily what it is or how to describe it.
Yeah.
But that's where the attraction comes in, where we're putting stuff out and we're either creating it and it's influencing the world around us in some way. And that seems to be apparent across all ideas.
Because I don't personally think that the idea of The Secret is any different than, Jesus saying,
Right.
What is it? If you believe in your heart you have it already,
right.
then it's yours, basically.
Yes.
Or
Think as things that aren't as though they are.
Yeah.
I mean, things like that. Yeah.
yeah.
So.
Okay, so that's the first element of like trying to get from, possibly low means to greater means,
Right.
or feeling like you can accomplish things, or being
Yeah. Well,
maybe
realizing
set
that.
aside. There's a
yeah.
section of society that probably feels like they've been kicked to the
Right.
side, especially when you do things like, we're the 99% or we're the
Keep
1%.
separating. Yeah.
These are dividing concepts in which people have adapted to some sort of identity in that, we're this and they're that, and we don't want to be like them because they're hoarding it all because they're
Right.
rich, or vice
And they
versa,
have it. Yes. Yes. And that's where some of the concepts with the, as far as everyone thinks that they don't have the means to get to where they need to. Like you ask a poor kid from, the ghetto or something like that, like I can't make it because of whatever reason, like everyone has a reason, but you ask a scholarship kid at Harvard who's competing against trust funds people, he's like, I can't make it, So everyone in the position where they're at feels like there's something stopping them, and it's really always just you. I mean, you can figure out some way around that. I mean, somehow, unless you're not capable, and there are certain people that aren't, but I mean, if you're capable of having conversations and basic functionality, then you should be able to move yourself out of the position you're in, even if it means changing friends, moving your location, switching jobs. You just got to make that happen.
Power is always yours.
Yes. Yeah. Some people want to help everybody, some people don't. But I mean, if you think, oh, it's too big, like I can't help everybody, but you can help certain people, and you can even choose who you help. Like you don't have to give money to every single homeless person that asks for money when you stop at a light, but you should help somebody do something, whatever it is, whatever you can offer. And that brings us into like the second verse, which is about preconceived notions.
The idea of preconceived notions and what they can do to your thinking.
Yeah.
Coming from the background I come from.
Right.
I mean, I remember having conversations with my friends, feeling like this like super sense of urgency that like I needed to like save them from the pits of hell. And that moment there, that if I didn't, they died later, that's on me.
Yeah.
Like walking around with the weight of like literally like having to save the whole world. Dude, and that's a whole, that's a whole motivation behind doing everything. Like every conversation, your own life, like down to the...
and it's only because you care so much. Like if you didn't care about their eternal souls, you wouldn't even worry about it. But we walked around with this like burning need to help everyone from not being through that, and I think that frames as our lens as we go along too, that way.
Not to mention that it's like, if you don't believe this particular way in which me as a human being and my frail understanding is communicating this to you, and and that I deem as worthy, and you got it. Like,
this is information.
Then otherwise, like, you will roast. Not only like for a, like, will you roast? Yes, forever. Like, it will never
burning.
You will never stop burning.
Just hell, like pain, sorrow, lack of God. I mean, like that's the whole thing. It's just terrible forever. Even though a friend of mine, once pointed out, was like, after a couple billion years, I'd probably get used to it, but I mean, like, it would just be normal then.
After a couple billion years.
So, I mean, like, there's all ways of looking at that, but obviously at 10 years old, I would have not even thought of something like that. I mean, I had normal questions like, where the other people came from when Cain, took off. Like, where did he have his family and kids and all that stuff? I had those in my head, but I mean, I just didn't. It was just like, whatever, like that's the Bible.
That's an interesting point. Well, so there's Adam and Eve. Then they have Cain and Abel.
Right.
And then Cain kills Abel.
And then
Cain takes off and runs to some other place.
And starts a whole generations. I mean, where people come from.
With who?
Right.
With what woman?
Right.
Right. So where did people come from? I
mean, there's a bunch of those. I mean, but this was more like deeper, like later on. Yeah. If you always are in the habit of assuming you know what somebody's talking about, then you're never listening, you're never learning. And if you already know everything, then you have nothing, you can't grow. I mean, there's quotes all over about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. No, I'm there. Okay. Thank you. Good night.
Yeah. And we all have interactions. We all have interactions and probably interact in that way a lot of times. Like, conversation's over at that point. Like somebody's trying to tell you something like, oh, yeah, I know all about that.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Sounds good.
Done.
Like,
all right. I got nothing else to offer, man. The third verse is talking about the ones that are going to help the most amount of people, where everybody can help who they can help. Mm-hmm. And it starts out with, first is just my, like Tesla and Elon Musk and Solar City and SpaceX and all that, which is basically like somebody needs to have money on this planet. It's Elon Musk, in my opinion, because he's doing the things that a lot of people don't even want to think about, and they don't need to think about. And that's the point. Like, you think about the people that you can in your community, the people around you, and you help them who you can. But also remember that there are people that are having to think about the bigger picture. But I remember reading one time where, how much CO2 Elon Musk is putting into the atmosphere by shooting rockets up into the sky. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, what? I mean, so basically here it is. We live on a planet that is this blue-green ball flying around a fiery ball at 30,000 miles an hour. and all kinds of things could wipe out life on this planet at any moment. And we think we see some of them coming, but every once in a while I see these news things where, some meteor we hadn't seen, was within the moon and us, and we have one day, and believe it, I mean, we all know this too. If something like a movie happened, they wouldn't tell us. We wouldn't know about it. I mean, just like in the movies, like the meteor would be there a day before and we'd all die. So, I mean, those kind of risks are out there, right? And that's where we have to move beyond this planet if we want to survive as a species, period. Everyone knows
we just
that.
made a large jump in content.
right.
It's like,
That's
wait a
right.
minute, before we go any further,
That's right.
we have to get out of here. And I'm talking about off this planet. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
so-
let's talk about that.
That's right. I mean, I knew that was going to lead into that, but that's what the third verse is about.
Yeah.
So, basically.
And why
yeah.
is that?
You're like, why do we need to get off the planet? And that's where there were these guys sitting around and they were talking about the threats to the planet, the biggest concerns. And I can't remember it verbatim. There was like a guy that was an expert on like nuclear bombs, someone that was an expert on climate change, someone else was expert on artificial intelligence. And I may remember a couple of the other ones. Those are just the ones that pop into my mind right now. And they would go around, they would talk about the threats to the planet and the possible solutions that we have and how can we prepare for them and how can we make it through them, and all that stuff. And they all went around the room and they all had these things. And when they got to the artificial intelligence, it basically came down to the fact that is probably the biggest threat to anything, which, the major minds in the world, Bill Gates, Elon Musk even got out, I'm blanking on his name, Hawking's right now.
Oh, Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, where they came out basically like, we need to be thinking about the artificial intelligence and how we're handling this and how it's going to go. You know what I mean? Like, they're our biggest concern, but a lot of people are worried about a few other things that maybe aren't as big of a concern. But that is even aside from trying to get off the planet. But the whole thing with that is Elon Musk is trying to set up the situation where we're getting off the planet in case any of these number of scenarios, one of which is AI. But so back to these guys talking about this stuff, where in the end, I won't go through the whole thing, but it was that, wow, all of our problems are serious, but really the most significant thing coming up is AI. And the thing about that that's interesting is our problems will be solved by the AI probably if it comes to be what we think it is. And the whole issue then, like of all
And when you
the
say
things,
problems, you mean like the
survival of the
global
human
warming
species.
or whatever. Yeah. So you're saying
Yeah.
we crank this thing on and all of a sudden it's like
They figured out in like
it's got
2
all
days.
okay.
Like
yeah.
they know this chemical in this particular capacity will kill off every one of those. But the problem is they're not worried about us. I mean, they may be at first.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
We
But
all of a
that's-
sudden become the little ant people.
That's right.
That the squashing of a few is,
Yeah, I mean,
just
it's-
a little afterthought.
Absolutely. And that's where, I mean, even the one scenario that he threw out that just stuck in my mind, where he's like, it's not like, we've got the Terminator movies and we got all these different things, which, by the way, we've already laid down the idea for them. They don't even have to figure out some of this stuff. But basically that it may not be like a battle, you know what I mean? Like why would they need to battle us? Like, what are we going to do? Once it's live, if it can connect and, rebuild itself and stay alive, where it may be as subtle as they realize that their wires are going to rust, and so they just figure out a way to shut off oxygen to the planet, and we just go extinct as if all the other species do as we, do carbon or cut down trees and things like that.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah. Just the evolution of us, but our mind.
Right.
I mean, that's what Google is, yeah. It's just us and Facebook. I mean, we're creating the conversations for them. And even one thing that cracked me up lately, because you even sent it to me, was the movie that came out starring the guy from Silicon Valley that was
Written by an AI.
And I mean, just
Which
tell
you
what
had
that
you
was.
had taught. Well, I don't know much more about it other than it's a short film and it's written by their artificial intelligence program, I guess, or some
right
incarnation of it. And it's like actually going to be a film. And you had mentioned that when you first got to town. It was like, maybe not be that long before there's artificial intelligent computers or whatever writing songs and films or whatever for us. We might be some of the last of these human.
Yeah, songwriting, human artistic creations that are still like palatable. Because I mean, that was the thing, and it came from a TED Talk, even, you know, where this guy was representing, showing where they had been like, we just figured this out 3 months ago, you know, and like projections of where they'd be. Things like, you know, a computer writing and a human writing, which one people responded to more favorably. You know, things like that, where they were getting to that case. And this was like a year and a half ago now at this point. We're creating the content right now that is going to become the AI that they're going to base themselves on. And when they first created their very first movie, I mean, just think of like a baby, a little kid, your little kid right off the bat comes up to you and shows you this silicon baby. And what does the whole world do? We ridicule it. Like, we laughed at it on social media about how stupid it was and stuff. And I mean, it doesn't have feelings. I have no idea what AI is going to be, but that was what we did there. And it's all over. I mean, it's going to see that immediately. I mean, it doesn't even have to scour shit. It's just going to be, you know, automatically know it all.
It's going to see that we bullied it.
Yeah, we just bullied it right off when it was a baby. And I mean, that's where it even goes back to Elon Musk's thing, where he recently talked about us being baseline reality, you know, and stuff like that, where he talked about simulations. And I read this guy who did this synopsis of like, he was a philosopher or something like that, where he tried to break it down, you know, and all this, like, well, there has to be a this and that or matter and all that. And it was like, yeah, but you're still working under the pretense of like biology and physical matter and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it doesn't work like that at all. You know what I mean? Like, when you're talking about this, it's all semantics, right? And we talked about that, even where, let's just, what if, you know, there's a God, and there is a God, and that's what everybody believes, but that God is really nothing more than a being that has the ability to consciously create the reality that we live in right here, and is able to control this whole little thing through cause and effect, through something we can't even comprehend. Is that a simulation? I don't know. Is that a program? I mean, is that what Elon Musk, that's what they're talking about? Just because we use the word God to describe it, all of a sudden, is it now spiritual? When you talk about an angel, is that a multidimensional being?
Right.
Is that an alien?
Right.
I mean, it's all words that we're using to describe different stuff, but everyone gets caught up in their version of what that word means, and then everybody else's is wrong.
Right.
Like, that's not it.
Yeah.
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 Which, that was a rabbit hole.
No, that was great. I had to let that all sink in for a minute there. Okay, so back to
survival.
Back
of the
to
planet.
all right. So say we make the A. All right, so we make the AI. We crank this thing on. It
This is where we
decides-
go back to. We want to get to where Elon Musk is thinking ahead to where AI has taken over the globe, the Earth, this planet.
Yeah.
And at that point, we may have some measure of control for a certain amount of time, but he realizes that we're not just going to like get into a fight with our girlfriend and move to Mars, right? Like, I'm saying, he's setting up our species to be able to survive if any of those things happen. And that's just one of them. But he knows he has a limited amount of time for this to happen. You know what I mean? And he's putting his resources toward that.
Yeah.
And it's not just his resources. This guy is rich. He could sit around and do shit the rest of his life. But what is he doing? He is up every day busting his ass working to try to save the future of us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I would want him to have as much as he can get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah. But that's where they say the third verse, I'm wondering, just like I wondered about the different kind of people, I'm talking about wondering about the people who are doing that stuff. And that's where it leads into, you know, the first one was Elon Musk that I put on this slideshow, where these were just a couple of main ones. Like, this was not by any means the only thing I was thinking of when I was writing this song, for sure. I went all around it and was just trying to cover any of them. But the other ones were a few TED Talks that I had listened to. And
Oh, yeah, that's right.
There are certain TED Talks out there that, I mean, if any of you are ever looking for ways to have your mind stretched, is going on TED Talk. Shameless plug. And they basically just go, they are the geniuses on our planet that are working on the stuff that no one else is working on. And they are giving presentations to other smart and rich people on the planet about what they're working on. A lot of times it's not even presenters, it's the people in the lab working on it. And they put all of them online for free. Or not all of them, I guess. There's a lot more of them now, but they used to, but a big chunk of them. And it's just amazing. You can see the predictions that they've seen. Like you'll see them where it's old and grainy, you know, from back when they started, and they're just, their timelines are on, and you would never think that could happen, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, like for instance, the one with the oh gosh, what would you call that? Seed isolated
food computer.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep,
Food computer.
Yep. And that's Caleb Harper with the OpenAG project. And I mean, that one, I mean, of all the things I've watched lately, I mean, that's the one that I put in the clip for hunger. But I mean, you know, where everybody's concerned about the future, and we all are, about having food and how we're going to feed everybody. And he does even a great presentation on, you know, I mean, there are positive aspects and negative aspects. And I mean, right now, I'm not going to get into the GMO discussion. That'll be saved for some other time. But it's that we've got to consider options that maybe aren't as appealing as we all may want. You know, we all may want to be kumbaya and live on the earth forever and in balance and all that, but it's just not reality. It ain't going to happen. Like, you know, one big, you know, antibiotic resistant strain will cut out, you know, a good chunk of the population, and then we're back to kumbaya, you know what I mean, and rebuild it up. But nobody wants that, right? Like, we don't want half the planet. A big world war cuts out people. Some people think the powers to be want that to happen, you know what I mean? But that's where, you know, nobody wants that, so we have to figure out how to solve the problem. And that's what these people are trying to do. And this Caleb Harper came up with, where we have the real world environment and even all the climate change stuff. What this is to make a, you know, what could be a long explanation shorter, is he has figured out ways to hook up many sensors to certain types of plants and hook them up to computers that are then interacting with the plants in a way that affects their environment with the chemicals. Like, they're not that, he even says that, they're not that complicated. You've got, you know, water, you got minerals, you know, oxygen, things like that. Nitrogen, yeah. And all those things can come in just canisters or whatever. And they're in the early stages. It's still kind of do it yourself. But they've got big ones, and they've got them in different places, and there's hubs around the world, but it's all open source. It's going to be kind of like this other awesome app I saw recently called IFTTT, which if this, then that, where it's these little code recipes where everybody is going to be testing these out, and you're going to have your own machines in your own house and be able to grow your own fresh food right at home.
Like if you want to grow like some certain tomato from south of Mexico,
that's right.
You can, if they've got the seed or the recipe or whatever that thing is, then you can
get those experiences from
grow
there.
it.
It's
And
not
the ideal
actual food from there; it's the environment where the food was grown. That's what you like about it.
So certain levels of those, you know, nitrogen, oxygen, to create a certain atmosphere
and timings, and then that's where even, you know, a lot of it's testing even too, where, you know, they'll run the different things, and when one person learns something works, they put it up to the system, and then everybody has access to it. And so it's going to be a big open source thing.
Yeah.
But either way, the technology is going to happen, where we're going to have little devices, and right now they look like basically the old computer cases, where you just have a couple plants in there hooked up to a computer, and then your food grows, and it grows way faster, all nutrient rich. Primary reason that I've heard for why people are really against the GMO and the health aspects of it are the fact that Monsanto is, you know, engineering them so that they can douse them with Roundup. And then that's not a good reason to GMO something. If you're GMOing it so that it like hits your cells and creates super powered nutrient, you know, waste removing cells in your body, then that's a good reason, you know. And instead of just doing like scattergun where you throw it out in a field and hope the seeds hit each other, you actually do it with science where you're looking at it. I mean, we don't know what we're doing yet. And so that's where, who knows? I'm not saying that, like, yes, we should just do it. But I mean, the scientists working on it, and they talk about it even on these TED Talks, where they go, we need to decide about this technology before we just start using it, you know, all over the place. But that doesn't mean it's not something we should at least investigate or think about if we're going to feed this planet. We're going to have to make choices. Yeah.
I can't stop thinking about that spaceship going to Mars. How are we going to fit everybody? How are we going to fit everybody?
That's right. We're not going to fit everybody. And that's what I say is the whole point is we don't have to worry about everybody yet. We've got to get people there and the system set up in place. And that's what he's thinking ahead to. Yeah.
We just gotta hurry before the AI enslaves us all.
That's right. Or the things we can't even think about. Or the aliens show up.
Oh gosh.
I mean,
There's a whole other.
we're not going down that road.
You know, I have a
here
friend.
today.
I have a friend who maybe he'll come and do this with us one time. He's a alien guru.
Okay. So he'll have some interesting stuff for us to think about, huh?
Definitely. My dad played an alien in a movie about
That's right.
what's that guy's name? Gosh, what's his name? I can't remember. But he supposedly his spaceship landed, and Valiant Thor.
Okay.
It's about a guy who was, I guess this guy who met him at the Pentagon or something, right? So apparently he came and wanted to bring us all these, secrets, I guess, from his planet,
Yeah,
like how
yeah.
to cure certain diseases and this and that.
Yes.
And they didn't want it or whatever. And,
Want
and
it.
so then,
Of course not.
yeah, and then they, I guess he and the rest of his crew still live somewhere in, I don't know.
Yeah, you
Arizona
told me
or
it was some
something like
state, but I
this.
remember,
Yeah, somewhere you can go, or maybe into the Grand Canyon or something. I don't know.
remember where
But
you
apparently
said.
you can go there and they're still there.
You said they're like aliens are just living there,
Yeah,
but you
that's
don't
what
know they are, but the people around there know they are, or
I guess.
something.
I
Like
don't
that's the story.
yeah, who knows? I don't.
Yeah, but that's where there's people out there though trying to solve the big problems, and I'm not saying every problem is big to the person who has the problem. That's
Yeah.
the whole thing. You just can't discount anybody else's problems.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and that's where just because you're down here, you shouldn't want to bring anybody down to you for sure. You know what I mean? So we just need to support the people who are trying to support us all. You know what I mean? As well as the person right next to you.
Yes. To me, that's the lie. The idea that somehow we're all separated. We're in this thing together, and back to abundance, if the thing is flowing freely between us all, if we're all on the same page that, hey, we're one, we're all connected in this, then giving money or having money in the hands of the people that are doing good or giving money to people who aren't, none of it should matter. Like, just let it flow freely, because there's enough for everyone, and we'll all find our space. And I don't know, like puzzles, pieces in a puzzle,
Yeah,
all
we all
working
have our
towards
part.
the working towards the same goal.
Whoever they are
Yeah.
are trying to keep us fighting. And
Yeah.
the best method, I mean, I go back to even anything, man. If there is a devil, what would be the best way? I mean, it's always divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Even in, let's say, what we grew up in, Christianity, man. I mean, Catholics,
Oh, my
Lutherans,
gosh.
Baptists or Southern Baptists, like,
Yeah.
they hate each other. You know what I mean? Like, are you serious? Like, in the same religion, they
Right.
created little sects within
There's
it.
like 13,000 denominations or something, right?
Yeah, and that's where I say, like, I mean, whatever, I don't know what all I think about anything. Everything's ideas, you know what I mean? And I can go down almost any road of potential possibilities, and I don't know necessarily, some of them are more likely to me than others at this point. But if I was in a battle with the creator of this place, like the story that I heard where, God
Right.
was up here, he had all the angels and everything, and they didn't have free will, right? That was kind of
Yeah,
the
that's
things,
kind of
but
the
yet
thing, yeah.
somehow Lucifer did.
Oh, that's a good
and,
point. Yeah.
Came against him, which whatever. So, but then it starts, he took a third of them with him, you know what I mean? So now there's a battle between them, and he basically threw him to earth, like condemned him out of
Right.
heaven, and then put us there on earth,
Right.
and gave him, whatever, some influence over us there, and they're running out this chess game, you
Right.
know what I mean, over through
And
history.
even making deals in the book of Job. They're
Right?
like,
Yeah, exactly.
Striking
Like
deals
wheeling,
back
dealing
and
over
forth.
us, right?
Yeah.
Like that. If that's what's going on, and I was the devil,
Yeah.
and Jesus came and broke all the curse, like
Yeah.
the deal that was made, like the
Right.
sacrifice and all
Right,
that
right,
stuff.
right.
If
Yeah.
I broke that deal, and now all of a sudden there was this Christian religion, and the Romans, the empire of the world, take over that religion and start unifying everybody under that context, wouldn't you just divide and conquer within that group
Absolutely.
and make them into different denominations? You know what I
Right.
mean? I mean, that's all they did.
That's all right. Because truth is, we don't know anything.
That's right. I mean, we're
And,
just throwing out ideas and concepts,
yeah.
but
We're just having a conversation, and you guys are like flies on the wall.
just kind of over listening to us. I mean, that was basically how it came about. We were talking all the time, and it was just like, you know what? We're kind of covering a lot of information here, you know what I mean? Just ideas that are intriguing,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And we thought other people might want to be in on the conversation a little.
There's got to be more people like us. We can't be the only two people like us.
That just, wonder about all kinds of different things, man.
Yes. So
Yeah.
I guess this is a good way to end it, to just invite people along on the journey of wondering, pondering, thinking for yourself-ering,
Yep.
and maybe engaging in a conversation in which we talk about these things, and maybe people have solutions
Yes.
to things we didn't say, or maybe we'll get to solutions in another one, or who knows where it will go.
Who knows where it'll go, but we'll have a good time going down the road.
That's right.
I wonder about the people who live without the means to get them where they need to before bringing about change that they look for in the models they see all around them, in the family, in the city, in the schoolyard. Who are they? I wonder what they could be. Who will help them see if you won't? I wonder about the people who can't seem to see through their preconceptions that they cling to for life and death, even if it conflicts with what they know deep down to be reasonable for our progress, for our culture, for our future. Who are they? I wonder what they could be. Who will help them see if you won't? I wonder about the people who ponder how we're going to make it to the next stage of this journey through the cosmos all together. We must try to do our best to